Let's talk about pottery. Let's talk about pottery. Pottery. Let's talk about pottery.
Okay, time again to talk about pottery. So I have the camera, hopefully at a good angle, right down into the kiln here. I have a lot of textured dishes in here, so that's primarily what we're going to see. But you can also see I have a jewelry set up here. It's kind of been good and bad, but it worked this time. Nothing fell off of it. So I'm going to actually take that apart first. Sometimes they get stuck on the metal. I might just take the entire piece off. And let's see. The metal that goes to the jewelry assembly actually will bend. It's a cone 6 piece of metal. This was a cone 5, and I find that this will bend pretty much every single time. So what I do is I try to make sure that there's a lot of where it overshoots the assembly. I try to make sure that there's a lot going on the other side so that it has room to bend down. So maybe later when I take this out I'll kind of explain that a little bit better. But that metal will bend, as you can see that it bent, and you really have to space out your pendants when you do that, knowing that it's going to bend. So these are just some little turtle pendants, glazed all the way around, and this is glazed in Crazed Copper by Coyote on Little Loafer's white clay by High Water. So I have a few of those. Those are for an order. Whether they like them or not, we'll have to see, but I think they're a little heavy, but the glaze came out good on those. I've got one stuck to the metal, and kind of just have to, you just kind of have to do that. And this is a dragonfly one. And this glaze, I think this one was done in opal or blue ice, also by Coyote. I forget which one it is. Ice blue, I think maybe it's called. So this one actually stuck to the metal. I'm going to have to sand that down a little bit. It got a little bit glaze on the inside of it. But those came out good. And there's some more pendants on the second layer. So you can kind of see how there's metal that's coming way over here. And that's what I've kind of figured out to do if you want to actually slide pendants onto a piece of metal. Because you can get larger metal that's cone 10, and I have some of those, but you can't really put a pendant onto that metal. And maybe I'll do a video on that at a later time. See, it's like a little frog pendant. Some more Crazed Copper. And just some little wooden stamps that I have. And this little starfish one. There's some glazes in here that I haven't used before. I have used this glaze. It is Cedar Chino by Coyote. And it is a really, really nice red, and it kind of breaks to a darker maroon. I noticed that the foot actually stuck to the kiln a little bit there, but I'll just sand that down. That'll be okay. It's just a little dish, hand-built dishes in here. This one is done in, it is called Textured Kiwi, and that's by Spectrum. And when I take pictures of this later, you'll be able to see that better. It has a lot of texture to it. It's really a great glaze. You have to use this glaze cone 5, maybe 4, but if you go to 6, it is definitely going to run right off of your piece. It's cone 5, and that's as much as you can do, really. And here's another one. Same glaze. I did some texturing there in the middle, so that's really showing up very well. I find that it breaks and catches texture really well. This glaze is great on white clay, but not so much on any other clay that I've tried. Okay, this had a crack in it to start with. I thought maybe the glaze would fill it, but it didn't happen. Still has a crack, but would have been a nice turtle dish. This one is, I believe, I did this in Opal by Coyote, and that has kind of like an icy look to it. It will kind of get that sort of frothy, icy look in some places, and then you get blue specks around. It's a really nice glaze. Unfortunately, that piece cracked, but... And here is cedar chino again, a little sun dish. And all of this is on that same white clay, little loafer's clay. Here is a dragonfly dish that's done in textured kiwi. That came out really nice, shows up the detail really well, and at cone 5 it just looks perfect, this glaze, definitely. And that's in cedar chino once again. That is a pretty expensive glaze. I just use it, you know, in pints to be brushed on. It's really expensive any other way, so I kind of use it sparingly on some tiles and a few smaller things. But it's worth it because it does have a lot of texture to it. This is just a small, you know, test piece. I started using some of Mako's Stroke and Coat glaze at cone 5 or 6, and they don't always work at higher temperatures, and even though they do tell you on the bottles what they will do. This says it lightens at cone 6, and this was a cone 5, but pretty much the same, and it is lighter, and I think it actually looks a little bit better lighter than it did out of the bottle because it was pretty bright. Still works at cone 5. Okay, going down to the next level here. I've had some orders for these tiles, so I'm trying to at least make a few of them each time now. So just the starfish tile, that is done in Crazed Copper. Crazed Copper has been a great glaze pretty much on any clay that I've tried it on so far. Looks very different on darker clays, but it's worked really well, and it is translucent, so you can even do underglaze underneath it. I've done some tests with that, and underglaze has worked as well. And it will show through, so this is just a tile, but really been popular in this glaze. A few of those, and I did some magnets in that same glaze too. I have a farmer's market tomorrow, so I need to get magnets put on these for tomorrow. And all the dishes and things are going to go as well. This one, can't say that I'm very happy with that. It is ice blue. It is a nice glaze, but I wasn't really sure that it was going to show up the texture very well, and it didn't. It's weird. Could be used as a trivet or something, but interesting glaze. Not really great for textured pieces. It's kind of, going to show its own texture. So it would be good for that. I haven't used it on a large piece yet, so this is interesting to see what it really looks like. Kind of dark as well. And then this one would be, what is this one? I actually don't know what glaze that is. It's kind of matte or satin. Maybe it's the same one. Kind of looks like it could be, but it's much lighter, so I'd have to go back and look and see what glaze this was. Kind of like it. Has sort of an antique appearance to it. If I figure it out, I will put a little caption. I kind of think it's ice blue, just thinner coats. It kind of has that same look right there. So I'm thinking that's ice blue, and I probably only did like 1 or 2 coats, and this piece probably had about 3 to 4 coats on it. So that would make a lot of sense. Okay, a few more dishes at the bottom here. Wasn't a very big kiln load, as you can see, but I needed the pieces for tomorrow. And I did a lot of Crazed Copper. This one looks like it touched the shelf a little bit right there. Suppose I could just sand that off. I guess I lost a little bit of the integrity of the piece. It probably kind of dipped down just because of where the feet are. So I'd probably just sand that off a little bit. But it still came out nice anyways. Chances are the bottom of the kiln was probably pretty hot. Usually is hotter at the very bottom. Here's a mermaid one. Just a small footed dish. And a starfish one. Couple of glazed test tiles here. These really look odd. This was Colonial White by Laguna, and what I did is I put some of Mako's stroke and coat colors on to see what kind of textures would come out. There's a lot of crawling going on here. I don't know if the camera can really pick that up, because as bright as that is, but the glaze actually crawled away from the very top there. It's still a little bit on there, but it's kind of interesting what it did. It's not at all what I was expecting it to do, but it could be because it's a little hotter at the bottom. I don't have any witness cones in here. I forgot to put them on the bottom, and then when I put them at the top, they actually fell down to the bottom. Here's one, so I have no idea. It probably was hotter down here. This was a test tile of opal over antique copper. So this is something that I really wanted to try, and I really like the way this came out. I don't know if it can really be seen on the camera, but that is really a nice combination. I did another piece where they overlapped a little bit. So opal is by Coyote, and antique copper is by Spectrum. So I happen to have those. And the thing is I don't like antique copper on its own, so it would be nice to layer it, and I think this is a really, really nice combination. So I have another Coyote glaze called Alabaster Satin, which I wanted to try on white clay. A little bit of pinholing, but it's pretty nice overall. I think that's a good result from that one. It hasn't worked very well on other clays like brown or red clay, so white usually is the go-to clay for any other glaze that doesn't seem to work. So it did, so that proves that. And another magnet. 3 fish magnet, and one last starfish tile. And of course that is Crazed Copper again. So Crazed Copper will actually craze. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, I find, for mine. So you'll get kind of that, you know, antiquing, crackly look with Crazed Copper. Not always, but it just, I'm not really sure. It seems like the thicker the coats, the better the chances are for that. So that is something that glaze will do eventually. And what I'm going to do next is I have some other pieces that are from another kiln load that I'm going to show as part of this. They're all going to be going to the Venice Farmers Market tomorrow, so there's some mugs and a larger piece. So I'm going to do that next, and I will see you in the studio. Okay, so here we are. I decided to take everything outside. It was a little dark inside. Still kind of early in the morning. Not that early, about maybe 9 or 10 right now. But the sun really hasn't come up and over. In the afternoon, it will do that. And then it's much brighter in the studio. But right now, we have to do outside. So here are some pieces that were done in a different kiln load. And these are wheel-thrown mugs and a bowl, but it's kind of experimental. It's colonial white on the outside, and this is on little loafer's clay. All of this is, and the little, you know, button, I call them, little embellishment there. I use the same glaze there as inside, and it is Mako's Stroke and Coat glazes. And this is darker. It does say that it gets darker with high fire, and that one I think is called Caribbean Blue. And then there's also that one I think is, I actually don't remember the colors. I'd have to look those up, but it's, you know, more the tropical blue colors. I think this one's called Jaded. Can't remember what this one was, something like Blue Isle. The yellow is very yellow, probably because there's more coats of it here. So I don't know if customers are going to like that too much because it is pretty bright. And when the colonial white overlaps with the Stroke and Coat, you do get kind of a texture, and I'm kind of liking that texture more than the solid color. Probably not picking up that well with this camera, but let's see if that picks up. Has a really nice texture, and then what that actually is the colonial white over the Stroke and Coat paint. So if you wanted to do that, not paint but glaze, it's kind of like paint to me because you paint it on and it's just a solid color that doesn't show texture very well, but it's just a nice texture with the overlap of those glazes. And the Stroke and Coats are very nice glazes. They just are solid, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do, which is coat right over everything. And this is just a small textured bowl. Did some carving on that, and it's Crazed Copper again, and has iron luster, which kind of puddled a lot in the interior. Kind of looks like still has food in it or something. I don't know if I like that look very much, but they go together well. And then this was a hand-built piece with a starfish inside. See if I can get a better view of it. So it has 3 feet on the bottom and a textural element on the outside of it. See if I can get a better look at that. So what that is, it's a technique of using slip on the outside and kind of getting it to like a cool lip sort of texture, and just sort of using your fingers to go around and create waves and whatever type of pattern you want to do. Came out really well. It looked like a real mess when I started, but it comes out really nice, I think partly because I sponged it before I did the bisque fire, so I think that helped a lot to take down some of the taller peaks that would have been kind of sharp. Then the interior just has some little bit of texture around the rim of it. And what I wanted to say about this is this was done, aside from the feet, this was done as one piece. So the starfish is actually a sprig mold, and I laid the entire piece of clay over the sprig mold, got the starfish imprint, and then formed it into a bowl, which of course is done inside of a wooden bowl. So I wanted to point that out as an option where you don't have to attach to do an applique of a decorative element. You can do it all as one piece. You can kind of see that I struggled a little bit with, you know, getting the clay to smooth out around it, but I've had a lot of trouble with the applique pieces coming up or even cracking. So you can see on the bottom, you can't really tell that anything was done. I usually have to fill clay in a little bit over that impression. But I kind of like this way a lot better just because it's all one piece and it does come out better. Okay, that's about it for today. I will have all of this available at the Venice Farmers Market here in Florida tomorrow. So maybe I will see you there. If not, maybe it'll end up online. I don't know. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again.